Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. The webinar is going to be starting in just a couple of minutes. We're just watching people join now. So excited to welcome everybody today. Welcome to Limitless. And we're going to be here with Deshira in just a moment. I'm going to introduce her. A little bit of housekeeping in the meantime as we're getting started and folks are joining. You all have access to a Q&A functionality and a chat functionality. You should see those at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to use the Q&A if you've got questions for Deshira or for the Sky's the Limit team. They can answer questions there. We're going to be going through those and fielding those as we get through our day to day. And we are also going to welcome you in the chat. Share a little bit about who you are. I would love to know who's in the audience. So feel free to use the chat. Let us know your name, where you are in the world. And if you're running a business or thinking about starting a business, feel free to share that in the chat as well, the name of your business or your URL. So everybody here knows who you are and can find you on the web. That would be amazing. I am Laura Plato. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Sky's the Limit. And by way of introduction, I sit in Reno, Nevada. So I'm on the West Coast, Pacific time zone. And I am so pleased to be here today to see you all and to welcome you to our very first of the Limitless Entrepreneur Series, where we are spotlighting and showcasing Sky's the Limit's amazing entrepreneur community. We have an incredible lineup for you this year. Starting off with Deshira Benton today, who I'm going to introduce, as I said, in just a moment as we're gathering. So please introduce yourself in the chat. We'll get started in just a moment. So great to see everybody joining. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Hi, Deborah. Look at that. Good to see you. Hi, Ngozi. Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see all the folks from around the world. Hey, everybody. Hey, Ethan. Awesome. All right. Well, without further ado, as we're getting gathered, Oakland's here. Hey, Katie. I'm going to go ahead and just start to introduce Ms. Deshira Benton. Deshira, you are welcome to join us on camera when you are ready. There she is, the star of the show. Hello, hello. You're on mute right now. Go ahead and unmute and say hi.
Hi, everybody. Hey, so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. So good to see everybody joining. Everybody's still assembling, Deshira. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little introduction of you, and then we're going to get into our Q&A today. As I said, everybody, if you are just joining us, my name is Laura Plato. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Sky's the Limit. I'm joined today by Deshira Benton. And you're welcome to introduce yourselves in the chat, use the Q&A functionality to interact with our team and with Deshira and I, and we're going to be catching your questions at the end of our Q&A session together. So without further ado, let me introduce Deshira. And Deshira, you have so many things going for you. I'm super excited to share your story today. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who haven't gotten the chance to meet Deshira yet, she is what I love to refer to as a multi-hyphenate 4D entrepreneur. And when I say 4D, what I mean is she's operating across all dimensions. She's firing on all cylinders with her business. And this is one of the great stories about how business can look today. You know, there's no one single path to entrepreneurship. And Deshira's story is one that really talks about, in fact, we were just talking in the pre-show about how this is about tapping into your true potential and your heart and your soul and the things that bring you joy and happiness, and much of which you discover as a very young child. And Deshira was just sharing a little bit about her journey. Deshira is really a coach by trade. That's a huge part of what she does and brings to the world. And you're going to see that in how she shows up in terms of her energy, her enthusiasm, her ability to assemble amazing people together and forces for good. She's also, in the name of this like multi-hyphenate 4D entrepreneurship, you're working on a new clothing line, Deshira, I understand, called Wow God. You've got a hospitality company that you're getting ready to rock and roll with, just doing so many amazing things. And so I think this is a great example of a Sky's the Limit entrepreneur. She's tapping into the power of networks. She's tapping into the power of our mentorship and support systems. And I know, Deshira, also you're super tight with your family, with your friends, with the many folks along your journey who've helped you really build up that basically advisory board, right, that we all need as we try to do these complicated things in the world. So welcome, Deshira. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Sky's the limit for this opportunity. I'm so excited to just connect with you all, connect with everybody on here, and just be able to be a light to someone today. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's our privilege. It's our privilege. So I think let's start off with one of the easy questions. They're not really going to get that hard, you guys, but let's see how hard they are. But Deshira, you've got DeMilan Hospitality. That's really your umbrella, right? Under which you're running your business. And I'm curious to know what inspired you. What got you inspired to start your business?
So honestly, I was probably my senior year of high school. I took a marketing class, and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was probably like 18 years old at that time. And I just didn't know what type of business I wanted to start, but I knew I was going to be in the business of people, serving people, bringing hospitality, different experiences. And that's kind of what I've always done. So for me, it actually started, I walked across the stage in 2020, got my master's degree, and then the world shut down. And so my option was find a job or start the business that you've been saying for 13 plus years at that point. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and dive in and start my business. And so I've been coaching family and friends all throughout my life, ever since I was honestly 16. So I was like, oh, let me start there. And so I found out that was a great place to start. And then from there, that's where the business actually got officially started in 2020, literally the week after the world shut down. So that's kind of what my story came to. But I feel like it was also a push I needed, because I would have kept just, okay, maybe. But then I was like, I had no choice but to figure it out. So at that point, that's how kind of we started.
So it's kind of if there was a silver lining of that pandemic, that early pandemic day, what I'm hearing is it really gave you that extra push, that extra hop. Mm-hmm. The courage to do it. What keeps you going now? What keeps you motivated as you're into the second year really of your business?
I honestly believe it's the time freedom. With my life, I've always kind of been on the go. I've, climbed the corporate ladder really fast, and I was just always busy. And then throughout my life, we lost a couple of family members. And for me, it was the time freedom that I was missing. I was missing out on memories. I mean, my little brother, he's my heart, and he was growing up really, really fast. And I was like, how can I keep up with this? So for me, it was really the time freedom that keeps me motivated and honestly pushing for it. Now, right now, of course, it's busy, but once I finally get to a space where I can have the time freedom to make those precious memories with my family, my pet, that was the goal. And so that's what kind of keeps me motivated each day. Like, you're doing this because at some point you'll have the time freedom to live the life that you really desire.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's such a good.
I want to retire my parents. That's my goal.
Okay.
So
okay. That's what I was going to ask. Cause I feel like it's so present for people right now, right? Having more of that balance or time freedom, like you're talking about. I mean, that's big.
Yes.
It's really big. That's amazing. And retiring your parents. What do you dream about when you dream about retiring your parents?
Well, definitely, I thank my father first, because his enterprising skills have been embedded in me. So I'm thankful for that, because it teaches me kind of the business side of things. And then my mom, her work ethic and how diligent she is and things that she's taught me over the years. So I'm truly grateful for both of them. And so my gift to them will be able to, okay, guys, retire. Let's go travel the world. Like my dad, I was telling him we need to get on a cruise like ASAP. So it's definitely trying to make sure that I get them retired so I can enjoy memories with them. And as well, that while they still have time here on this planet with us. So that's kind of what the goal is right now, just to push towards that. But that's short term. There's other big goals, but short term is like, I need to get them retired.
I mean, that's such a huge goal in itself. That's a fantastic short and long-term goal, I suspect. I bet there's other folks too, and we'd love to hear from you in the chat and the Q&A too. Tell us what keeps you motivated each day and what keeps you going. If you're starting a business or thinking about starting a business, what's energizing you, inspiring you, and motivating you? You just heard a couple great examples from Deshira on her journey. I love the idea of retiring my parents as well. I haven't quite made it yet, so you're already on the way. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about, let's switch gears. You talked a little bit about your parents and how they've kind of modeled, it sounds like role modeled some of those entrepreneurial values and some of those business values for you, what success can look like, different pathways to success. Let's talk a little bit about the people who've inspired, mentored, supported you along the journey. What's that been like? I mean, how have those folks sort of helped play a role in moving your business forward and moving your own life path forward?
I am so grateful for all the mentors in my life that poured into me from youth to adulthood. I'm so grateful. And to be honest, the way I love Sky's the Limits mentors specifically because I literally met you guys and then it was like you believed in me and supported me instantaneous. Like I'm so grateful for that. And I think what the importance of mentors is that it's also a sounding board. It's a guiding ear. It's an ability for you to actually throw ideas at someone. I joke all the time. I'm usually the idea person, but for me to throw my ideas at someone else and just say, what do you think about this? Can you kind of navigate me towards whatever the destination that I'm trying to go and give me more organization? I think that's the best thing. They keep me organized because I dream in my sleep of all types of business opportunity. I mean, I probably have a bunch of business opportunities for everybody in my mind. And I'm like, oh, you should try this. You should try, like, that's where my mind automatically goes. But they help me to do the phasing, you know, like we were talking about it, like my phasing of the business and coming up with a strategy to tackle each session. So I think that's what's been most beneficial for me is that they are a guide, they are a sounding board, but they're also your encouragers. And it's so important that you have people that believe in you, believe in your vision. And then if they have the skill set to help you get to wherever you're trying to go. So I'm truly grateful for all the mentors that pour into me and specifically Sky's the Limit. Thank you guys. Thank you so much because I wouldn't even be right here if it wasn't for some of the push that you guys gave me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. No, that's so great to hear. And I see folks are asking in the chat and commenting in the chat too. They're saying things like, my kids are my inspiration. That's what's motivating me to keep moving forward, keep me going. I also see a couple questions, which actually matches one of the ones I was going to ask you next, which is, what's a challenge along this journey? What's one thing you faced that you want to share the story of with this group?
Ooh, a challenge. Okay, I'll be honest. I am a millennial. Shout out to all of us millennials. We were born in a microwave society, which means we think things come like that, and it doesn't. You may see it on social media that somebody's life really hit fast, but it wasn't like that. You don't know what they went through behind the scenes. So that was my biggest challenge. It was like when I launched the business, I was like, okay, we're going to go viral, God, boom, right? No, I'm grateful I didn't go viral because I was not ready to handle the volume of virality. I wasn't able to handle what was coming. So I think the biggest challenge for me was more so changing the mindset of thinking things are going to happen really quickly and also to enjoying the journey. A lot of times we're rushing to the goal. Let's enjoy the journey getting there. And it's all the pieces, right? Like, oh my gosh, I spent this money on this course right here that I really didn't need. Okay. Oh, I did this and went to the wrong website developer. Like all these different things are part of the journey so that when you do run your successful business, you know exactly what to do this time. And so I think the biggest challenge was that. And of course, the financial aspect of it too, where it's like, you know, you're investing all this and you're like, where's the money? And it takes time. It takes different. Oh, if I can give that to anybody today, it takes time and patience. And please be patient with yourself and just enjoy the journey.
Such good wisdom right there. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the journey because the journey looks different for everybody. Right. And you're so right. We're in such a microwave culture and such a social media driven culture. We think, oh, I see that and that's what I want. And I know exactly how to get there because that's how that person did it. And it's not, is it? It's a really individual journey for each of us. Yeah. I love it. I love it. You're on it. All right. Tell me this. You said one of the biggest challenges you face too, money, funding. How do we think about it? What are your tips? How'd you go about it?
Okay, so the first starter in phase one, I'll call it. I definitely did with my personal savings and my own personal, like take from my personal checks that I was making and then put it towards the business. That is the great starter. The next thing I did was I had to tap into, because it was starting to grow and scale a little bit, I had to tap into credit cards. I don't believe in personal credit card debt. I do understand business debt, totally separate. But personal debt, try to keep away from it because for me, it's more like I'm thinking I'm being bound by something. So I would try to stay away from that personal debt. But, and then I also applied for lots of grants, which is how I kind of found you guys, grants, and then also 2 business loans. And so I was awarded a grant, and I also am in the process of applying for a lot more grants. So just more so just seeing what's out there. There's a lot of resources. And it was actually, I never forget during the pandemic, people were sending out lists of like where you can find free resources. And it was very helpful. And maybe not work for me, but of course, sharing it with someone else. And so that's kind of my approach to funding. And so we're still in the beginning phases of funding and so forth, but I'm also trusting that when the finances do come, it'll grow to whatever it needs. But that's more of the being patient with the the process. So definitely personal, business loans, business grants. So just depends on whichever route that you want to try.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hearing underneath that too, like a money mindset is really important. So knowing what your money mindset is, what your personal money mindset is, you've got a preference for non-personal debt, for example, as part of that money mindset. So just being clear about what your money mindset is going to be and how do you want to start to go down that path in a way that's going to set you up for success.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. I see some good things coming in the Q&A. You guys, please keep up your questions in the Q&A and in the chat. Everybody loves Dashira's energy. I am with you. This is just my excuse to bask in Dashira's energy for 30, 45 minutes with you all. So thank you, Dashira, for that. I'd love to hear too in the chat if you all have got specific questions about funding or where you're at or challenges you face that you'd like to share with Dashira and I. Please do. We'd love to hear it. And we'll see if we can get some wisdom from Dashira too. If maybe she's tackled some of the same challenges or similar challenges. So feel free to share those things in the chat as well. This is where you get the benefit of a master coach sitting on the phone. Here we go. There you go. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about challenges. We've talked about what motivates and inspires you and what keeps you going every day. Here's one of the big ones, time management. How do you manage your time? Because a lot of our entrepreneurs in particular who work with Sky's the Limit, you already mentioned, right? You have a day job or you're balancing multiple personal priorities and professional priorities. You've got, in your case, multiple lines of business that you're dreaming up and starting to weave together. How do you manage your time?
So when I finally decided to go full throttle as the entrepreneur that I am, I automatically set my schedule. I set my time, and I also set even my how much my pricing would be based upon if I only work 25 to 30 hours per week. That's part-time. So I call myself a part-time entrepreneur, full-time life enthusiast. Like, I'm going to live my life because we only have one and we don't know how much time we have here. So I made sure that my schedule automatically shows that where it's blocked off. So like my mom jokes, like she knows between this certain time, that's dinner, cooking, like spending time with the family. I make sure that I have time allotted for each thing in my life. And so with 25 to 30 hours a week, that's a part-time job typically. So that's kind of how I've made my life look. And then from that, I would say that it helps me because as things grow, I have to have enough boundaries to say, if there's a certain, speaking opportunity or something, and it goes outside of my time, I can't take it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with accepting like, I don't feel like, I'm going to lose out on that. No. I'm making sure that I set myself up for success now because I know things might get busier. And I want to make sure that I let the people that are closest to me know that they're important. My dog's important to me. And so just managing that is specifically what I think is really great about time management and just shutting off the computer, walking away from it, taking that time. Okay, if it doesn't get done today, it'll get done tomorrow. Like being a little bit more free spirited with that. So I would give that.
That's great. That balanced mindset, really setting your own life first. Like I think like we always tease the sky's the limit, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint, but it really is. Like what you're building right now is a life and a long entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, how do you keep your energy up, right? Any good tools that you might recommend? I mean, I heard you say, you use your calendar and you're blocking out time on your calendar every day for your personal things as well as professional endeavors. Any other tools that you've found or tips you would give to folks that they might want to pull out of their toolkit and say, oh gosh, yeah, that Google Calendar is the thing, or Calendly, or anything else like that you find is helpful?
I absolutely live by Calendly. Like that is my lifesaver. Thank you, Calendly. But so for me, I would say I work with a lot of my clients with this, but I created a time freedom sheet. And basically it's an Excel spreadsheet where you write out every single thing that you have to do in one typical day, right? A typical day. And then and it calculates for you how many hours, because it's 24 hours in a day, how many hours do you have left over for whatever you're trying to accomplish? A lot of my clients were seeing they only had 3 hours, 5 hours. Things was like, they really had no time. And so that was, of course, now opening their minds, like, I need to get organized. So a productivity planner, I definitely recommend those. The time freedom cheat sheet, I can definitely share that with whoever is interested in that. I give that out for to my clients, but it's just more so like, letting you see things so that you can know, okay, how do I allot this to whatever I'm trying to accomplish? So I think that has been the biggest thing, is just getting organized, getting just also seeing what time you have available, and then how do you want to use that time appropriately.
Well, I have a feeling y'all put in the chat if you would like, if you would like to see Deshira's timesheet, make sure her time freedom sheet, make sure you put that in the chat so we can follow up with you. Thank you for the offer of that resource, though. I think that sounds fantastic. I'm with you also. Shout out to Calendly. Like, our Calendly is a lifesaver for sure. We love it. I'm just checking the chat and the Q&A and just kind of getting a sense of how folks are feeling and doing. I see lots of claps. Hi Raquel. Good to see you. Yes, lots of yes, please for the time freedom sheet. We would all like more time freedom. I would like the time freedom sheet. That would be fantastic. I'm ready for that tool. A great question here too from one of our participants. Let's just double back for just a second to share on, you mentioned business debt, like personal debt versus business debt. Can you give a little bit clearer picture for the group on how you think about what business debt is? What encompasses that? How do you define that differently?
So business debt for me would be, of course, applying for a business loan or business, whatever like the option is for you with the business, but more so you're using it for working capital expenses. You're using it for the actual business expenditures. So, and that's honestly, use it on a as needed basis. Don't overuse it. I usually let mine sit and just, I don't touch it. It doesn't exist unless I need it because I know myself. So I make sure that with business debt, we also have to be mindful of like what, the percentages are, what is the payback? Are you able to pay it back? Like, and just kind of managing it. And I'm still learning more about it because I just started in this process. But the thing is that it's taking out in your business name. So that way it kind of separates you from it. But I just want to make sure that I only use it for working capital expenses, whatever that may be. So for me, it may be administrative costs for the website or whatever, different things like that. But try to use it on working capital expenses. Don't go and spend it on like a brand new car or anything like that. I mean, unless it's a business car, you never know. But we're not gonna get that. But so it just depends on what you're taking it out for, and just be mindful of how you use it appropriately.
Yeah, that's some great input on, just thinking about, obviously we never offer formal financial advice here at Sky's the Limit, but I think hearing that perspective of how other entrepreneurs are thinking about debt and thinking about finance is so important. And, we've got some great financial educators on our platform too. I know Raquel Wilson is here. We've got some different folks in our systems who are just amazing at this stuff and have trained. Yeah, plan your money flow, or don't plan for more money to flow, as yes. Raquel says. So, these are all good principles to live by and think about, just what Deshira is articulating here for us so beautifully. Here's a good question too that came up, and I think this vibes with something we were going to talk about before too, Deshira, which is, let's kind of think about that initiating energy. And as we're getting into starting up our businesses, how did you find the courage to just do it? Just get out and do it. What was it for you?
That's a good question. I think for me, it was my passion for people. And I think it was because I was seeing people, of course, this was around the pandemic, and I was seeing people kind of like, going through so much. And they just had a mindset of like, well, not what was me, but more so like, where can I go? Like just needing a push. And I've always been an encourager. I've always been motivational. So for me, starting my business, it was more so like, how can I be of service to the population that needs me most, which was, and for me, it's personal development, professional development, and business development, specifically small business owners, because I have a passion for us. We need help. So I think for me, it was more so, it was hurting me. I think it hurt me to see certain people needing help and assistance and not knowing where to go, what to start with. So I think that's what gave me the push. And then I think also too, I keep joking, the pandemic just pushed me out there actually, but I think my heart behind it was just wanting to help people. I truly have a heart to be generous, to serve. I thank my grandmother for that. Like she literally, anytime someone walked into our home, we served them, we took care of them. I mean, my family knows we always have gatherings together. So for me, I want to, if you're coming to my space or my encounter me, you're going to feel like, you feel like you're home, you feel like you're with family. Because I always joke with my clients, I have to get to know you because we have to be friends. Like we're family. So that's the initial reason reason why I wanted to start the business was because I was like, I want to help more people get to a space of wherever they're trying to go. I just want to see them win. So that's kind of what the push was.
So what I'm hearing in that, I think you've said something about this to me before. You have a piece of wisdom, I think maybe gained from a mentor or a friend. It was about finding what hurts you, right?
Yes.
Well, can you share that with the audience? I thought that was so valuable.
Yes. So one of my mentors, she actually was the first person that told me that I could be an entrepreneur. I was like 24 years old, still wild and having a good time in life. And she was like, I see you, you can do things. You're going to be on big stages. She just spoke so much life over me. And I'm thankful for her for that. But she used to tell us all the time, remember your why. And why it's an acronym that stands for what hurts you. So for me, what hurt me was seeing people in pain, seeing my family members not being able to make some memories with those that passed on. That's what hurted me. I wanted to make memories. And so that helps me to stay motivated. That helps me to keep going. So I always ask anybody that I'm around, when whatever goal you're trying to accomplish, what hurts you? What's your why? That will keep you going so that when things get hard, I promise you it's going to get hard. It's going to get frustrating. It's going to get uncomfortable. But if you can remember your why, it helps you to continue forward to whatever you need to accomplish in life. And so that's my question to everyone always, and to everyone on here. What is your why? What hurts you? And so that's kind of what keeps me pushing to develop and help people along the way.
Really great insight. Yeah, definitely seeing in the chat some great insight that's resonating for folks. I love that. And we could almost leave it there, but let me push it just a little bit further. So what's your why is something you would encourage and challenge everybody to think through as they're going down this journey of starting their business, starting a new adventure in life. Any other words of wisdom that you want to share with folks that were motivating for you, that inspire you, anything else that prompts you or you think would help prompt our folks that are on the call today?
So I always love to tell this to my little brother because he's very much a perfectionist, like his big sister. An L is not always a loss. It's a lesson. So anything in life that you just feel like you failed at, that you couldn't accomplish, or that you just feel like you lost. And his specifically is like, oh my God, I did it. I got a B on this test, right? That's my little brother. He's a perfectionist. But anything in life, that L is never a loss. It's always a lesson. What did you learn from it? How did you grow? What stretched you? What were you able to accomplish after taking on that L, quote unquote, right? So it's more so thinking from a mindset of, I'm going to learn something regardless. No matter what I do, I'm going to learn something. I'm going to grow from it. And then guess what? You get to share it with somebody else that is going through the exact same thing or has or may in the future. And then it keeps going. It's a recycle of knowledge, of resources, and of capability. So I always recommend that is like, don't think of it from a mindset of losing. You're always learning. You're always winning technically, because that's a lesson instead. And I think, if anything, I will also say, trust yourself, trust your gut, trust whatever God put in you to do and accomplish in this world. Trust that gut. Don't let anybody else tell you what you know that you're supposed to do. Because a lot of times, that's literally what took me so long to even starting my business. Everyone in the world was like, well, how are you going to do that? And no, I don't think it's good. Kill the noise. Listen and trust your gut, because what the world is missing is what you need to start, what you need to develop. The world is missing that. You're the answer. You're the problem solver. So that is two things I would just say as a takeaway. Like, don't look at the losses, look at it as a lesson, and also to trust yourself, trust your gut, and believe in yourself.
That's it right there. All right, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so thank you, Deshira. That was fantastic and great. Thank you to the audience. So many good questions flowing our way already. I'm going to just pop in a little bit to the chat and the Q&A and just throw a few things your way to share, and let's see what comes up and what you feel like you want to answer. I think one of the biggest ones that has come up here is, but just everybody's just loving it. So thank you so much, Deshira. I love you dropping all this knowledge for us. This is fantastic and great perspectives. Yeah. On the L for learning instead. Okay, there's a kind of a tactical question here. So let's ask this one first. And please, y'all, put your questions in either the chat or the Q&A. I'm going to go through those now and kind of field them over for Deshira. So when you applied for grants, did you have to form your LLC, for your corporation, or did you just go for it? Like so I guess the question is really, what kinds of structures did you feel you need to have in place before you kind of went for the funding?
Yes, so I definitely did file my LLC before I started applying for business loans and grants. Specifically, I think it also matters because like you get your, your EIN number, all those things. So you just want to operate, whatever entity structure just to protect yourself. And also to, I don't think that's the case. I want to believe it isn't, but a lot of times with business, solo entrepreneurs, we understand sole proprietors, they sometimes do want to see the business account. They want to see, you as a legitimate business, your website. They ask all those questions anyway. So it's just easier to go ahead and just have the entity prepared. And then, depending on your tax person, and I don't know anything about it, but they'll be able to kind of tell you how to file and so forth. But I definitely do recommend that you do file yourself as an LLC. Specifically with my business grant, because I participated in when they did the SBA grant program. So that one was specifically because I was a independent contractor at that time. So that was how I was able to get it. But other grants and stuff like that, I've been applying as the LLC.
Okay. And I know you mentioned, you got a Sky's the Limit, I think, grant as well, or you've been in our funding processes, you've been in the SBA process. Do you just do the Google? Is that what you do? Do you just search for stuff, or what are your sources that you found that this group might benefit from?
Yes, Google is definitely the best #1 site. I definitely also recommended when I started searching for grants, I went to grants.gov. Of course, Google, just typing in, depending on the grant. How I found you guys, ironically, I went to SCORE. I don't know if anyone's heard of SCORE, but they had a list of resources and Sky's the Limit was on there. And so that's how I kind of found that out. And then just doing very in-depth searches. Please be careful though. A lot of people are scammers, so they may try to take your information. So research everything. I am a researcher at heart, so I'm Googling all day long trying to find the grants. And so there's a lot of money out there and you just have to really search for it. There's a lot of people that are offering funding, different depending on whatever, the parameters are. There's a lot of stuff. It's just, it kind of reminds me in high school and they're like, oh, look up scholarships. Yeah, same thing. You have to look for it. You have to work for it. You have to find it, but they're out there. It just takes time.
Yeah, it takes a minute for sure. Great. Okay, so let's see. There's a couple other great questions. I'm saving one. I've seen a couple interactions. I'm saving one for a little bit later. But one that came up, love to get sort of a coaching perspective on this. So some of our entrepreneurs are thinking about their target customers. How did you think about your target customer? And particularly with you, having sort of a multifaceted business, how do you think about getting to your target customers? How do you position the products in front of them and their services? Like, how do you get to them? So who are they? How'd you find them? And where do you sell to them?
So what I did was a market persona analysis. And what I did was I came up with 3 of my ideal customers, right? And I did everything from their demographics, what they like to do, where do they eat, how much do they make, what's their discretionary income, just every single category possible. And so from there, I created a person. I literally created a person and I named them and gave them a face. I found their pictures on, if anybody uses Canva, shout out to Canva. I found a picture and I just literally created a being. And from there, it was easy for me to kind of, okay, now who's my ideal client? And then also too, because I've had family members and friends that are kind of my ideal client, I kind of based it off of them. And then from there, that's kind of how I developed, how do I market to them? How do I connect with them? So sometimes most of my people or mine are on Instagram. That's just how I've seen, they're usually I call my customers, they're the 9-to-5 dreamers, right? So they have a day job, they're the 9-to-5 dreamer, I'm a 9-to-5 dreamer. So I call them that. And basically, how do I get them? Well, usually if they're 9-to-5 dreamers, they're not getting on Instagram or social media till about 8. So that's when I'm promoting my stuff. Or they're not really checking their stuff until the weekend. So Saturdays, probably an email blast will come out. So you just kind of have to know the system of like your actual customer and trying to define where they're at, what time, so that they can see you. And then, participating in networking opportunities, because a lot of my clients come from word of mouth. Most people are like, oh yeah, do you know she does this? And I'm like, things like that. So I think if anything, it's just kind of first figure out who your customer is, fall in love with that customer, because that's the person you're going to be marketing to. And then from there, the floodgates will show. All the people will eventually start coming your way that are perfect for your design market. But mine is the 9-to-5 dreamer. That's who I was. And that's kind of where I want to help, mainly the 9-to-5 dreamers. So
yeah, that's right, folks. Okay. Yeah. And I see some comments too. Folks would love to see a persona outline, similar tools. So absolutely. I know we've got some of those available through the Sky's the Limit marketplace as well. We can definitely push those out so that everybody in the audience can get access to some of the tools that Deshira is referencing as well. She's used versions of for herself. So I see we have a very special guest in our audience today. Mr. Curtis Benton is here. Deshira Benton's father appears to be in the house and has been patiently waiting with some amazing questions and thoughts. So Deshira, what's your last name? And where do you get your business insight from?
Thanks, Dad, for embarrassing me. Thanks, Dad. Definitely my parents. My dad specifically, he's definitely been a provider. He's always taught me about, just business. Oh, my mom's here too. Look at her. Hey, Mom.
There she is.
Definitely, I learned my business insight from my father, and just the way that he kind of taught me about we in New York, I'm from New York originally. We have a hustle culture. So we hustle to get to where we need to go. So that's kind of where my drive comes from. And I would say my mother definitely is the ethics side, the morality, treating people the way we want to be treated. She's a counselor by trade. So that's kind of where the coaching part of me comes from, is that, she always talked with us and gave us insight and wisdom. So I definitely think those combined together is kind of where I got my business insight.
That is pretty awesome. Thank you to both of you for being here today. Yes, as Raquel says, that's amazing. We do it. # for our last names. So.
My dad, that's his joke all the time. So thanks, Dad.
Well, everybody, we've got just a few minutes left with Deshira. While we've got her here, please let us know if there's anything else that you would like her insights and wisdom on. In the meantime, I'm going to say hello to a few folks too who've popped up in the chat to give you all a second to formulate your questions for Deshira, because I know she and I both get our energy from people. So we love to see people here. So I want to just also say good morning to Ozzy from San Francisco. And of course, we miss Tanya, but we just saw Ms. Tanya there. So we've got some amazing folks, again, from all the coasts here. Just want to say hi to everybody. So good to have you all here. Thank you for being here. And who did I see? I saw one of our stylists in the audience as well. So good to see you. Thank you all for being here. These wonderful, diverse businesses that everybody's bringing up. So many different industries represented on this call to share. This is so cool to see everybody and have you here. Here's a couple other big parental units are in the building. That's right, Chris. That's right. Here's a couple of questions for you. Final questions as we're rounding up. All right. Have you built a formal board of directors? And what's your perspective on it? Is it necessary, unnecessary? How are you feeling about your formal board?
So I am envisioning it being a corporation. But right now it's me, solopreneur, but that is a goal. I definitely want to make sure that I shift towards that, because I definitely want to make sure I'm operating, especially because I have so many entities under it. I do envision myself being that big corporation that handles all different capacities. But right now, because I'm still in the beginning phase, it's just me as a coach right now. I haven't expanded that far. I do plan to do that. But right now, you can even just be a solopreneur if that's what you want to do. Like right now, just, because there's different things and there's finances attached to it before, because as an LLC, I have to pay certain things that I didn't have to pay as an independent contractor, just saying. So just be mindful of where you're at in your business and your finances before you start rolling into different things. But if you already have a board of directors and you're ready to go full corporation, go for it. It's just depending on where you're at in your business.
Fantastic. All right. And one question we're going to round up with Deshira here on questions, because we've put you through the mill, I think, today a little bit, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. So here's one more. How do you think about partnering with other businesses? Do you see yourself partnering with other businesses, or are you one that's just going it alone?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely believe in community. I believe in networking and partnerships. I also want to make sure they're strategic partnerships. So I do kind of vet each partnership that I do participate in, just to make sure we're aligned in visions, because I can have a goal of doing one thing and they can have a totally different goal. Doesn't mean that we won't work together well. It's just, I want to make sure whoever I'm bringing into my business as well, and vice versa, like, will I be a good fit? So I definitely believe in that. Right now I work with B2C, so that's business to customer, but I do plan on working with B2B. So it just depends on, time and what exactly they need me to do, whether it's a speaker or, I do trainings and seminars. So it just depends on whatever that looks like. But I do envision myself having great strategic partnerships.
That's great. It's such a great perspective too. And I hope for all of you who are in the audience, I mean, I think this is one of the things Deshira and I were talking about earlier today. This is about a family here. This is about a movement. This is about a community, and we're all here to help each other and support each other. So definitely, we hope you'll continue the conversation later today too. Make sure you connect with Deshira on Sky's the Limit. She's there. It's one of the many places you can find her, and all the other folks that you've been interacting with in our chat today as well. So Deshira, I want to say thank you for this portion of our discussion. Thank you so much for everything you brought. As folks have been saying in the chat, like just absolute gems, inspiration, wisdom. Everybody who's in the audience, please drop your thanks to Deshira, and please shout out for us. If you've all been on my talks before, I love to hear one word. What's the one word that is floating for you right now? The energy you're taking from Deshira. How are you feeling? How's your juice? What's going on for you? I love to see that in the chat. I think that gives us all a lot of inspiration and motivation to keep going. It takes a lot of courage to do this work. So Deshira, we appreciate you being so courageous and modeling that for all of us today. Thanks for being in conversation with me. What a great value you're giving to our audience, and so many great tools. We appreciate you. Yes, inspired, confident, positivity. Thank you. Wonderful spirit, a bright light.
Thank you, guys.
See, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Thank you to this wonderful community. We're going to share a few tips. I'm going to migrate us to the second portion of our agenda. If anybody has to drop now, I just want to make sure I do the plug for next month. We're going to have another session with another amazing entrepreneur, and Deshira and I both want to introduce you and invite you to join us for April's conversation, because I hope, Deshira, it's been fun for you as well. I mean, this is just a great chance for us to have a great dialogue together.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you, Sky's the Limit. Thank you, everybody that joined on today. I hope you feel inspired and motivated, and just always remember who you are, remember what you know and what you're good at, and just continue to go after your dreams. Don't ever stop. Keep going, and give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. When things get hard, it's okay to take a moment and just give yourself grace. So I hope everyone has a great day, but I'm going to log off I'm going to still be on here to answer questions, but I know.
That's right. Keep chatting with Deshira in the chat and Q&A. And I think you are also able through the Zoom functionality to DM her if you want in the chat. So feel free to do that. This is your time together. So thank you for joining us, Deshira. I'm going to switch us to the next portion of our program. It's been so good to have you. We appreciate you so much. And for those of you, one of the great things with having Deshira on here, and what the Limitless series is really all about, is shining the light on our brightest and best and most amazing community. And I hope each of you will reach out to us if you want to be featured in an event like this, and you want to share some wisdom, and you want to be in dialogue. And this is I hope you see this is a safe space for you to practice your business and the art of crafting your business. That's what this is about. That's what Sky's the Limit is about, right? Is us creating a safe community, a trusted community for all of us to hang out together and play together and experiment and take risks. Because just like Deshira said, this is big work, and sometimes it's going to be really challenging. And you need and deserve the support to make that happen. So I'm going to share with you just a couple quick things as we're rounding up. I just want to remind everybody of a few things. Sky's the Limit platform is here to support you. This is not a pitch. We are a free service, as you all know. So this is not me pitching. I want to remind you about a couple of things that, based on Deshira's talk, you may find useful. So remember that through the platform, there are a lot of getting started resources. There are a lot of things we call our project guides. Those are available through the Help Center. You can go out there, you can find those guides, connect with a mentor, get into a meeting, get into a relationship. All of us as mentors, all of our staff serve as mentors, as well as all of our amazing volunteers from our partners. And you can also mentor and support one another if you're on the entrepreneur side and you just have a quick question, or you want to work through a project guide together. Some of those project guides and resources for getting started are really helpful. I also want to remind you our monthly funding opportunities coming up on March's close very soon. So make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities. As Deshira said, getting into some of those opportunities like ours, where you're able to hone your elevator pitch, get coaching on what your pitch can look like. Our hope is that some of those smaller opportunities we offer are going to give you that chance to then, get into the next level and the next level of unlock. And speaking of unlock, if you haven't played with it yet in the platform, there's some new functionality that is really fun. So while you're out networking one-to-one, while you're out getting connected with some of our resources and getting connected to new mentors and coaches, make sure that you check out the impact teams. That's on the platform now. We've added a bunch of new gamification features. And so it's really like going on an adventure in the platform. And again, it's all in the spirit of making this a safe space to practice and create your business. So you can earn points in new ways now. And those points, if you're an entrepreneur, will go towards your funding opportunities. If you're one of the mentors who I've seen in the chat today, your points as you earn them either individually or with your collective impact team can also help be leveraged towards funding opportunities for entrepreneurs. And so make sure you're taking advantage of those resources that are out there. If you have any questions about the features and functionalities in the tools, you can reach out to any of us on the Sky's the Limit team. We're all here to support you. And you can reach us anytime at program@skysthelimit.org if you don't have a personal connection. And you can also find us on the platform itself. Feel free to message me, feel free to message Lauren, who you've seen in the platform, feel free to message Aaron. Like, there's a whole bunch of us. Chris is here. We're all available to you as you need us. So just a few quick tips, but if you haven't played around lately or you've been a little slow on the draw, it's totally fine. It's totally fair. There's never a bad time to get back started on your entrepreneur or your volunteer journey. So just get back in there and start playing and interacting. You're going to get amazing relationships like the one that you just saw with Jashira. Final quick thoughts for today. Again, please share in the chat if this has been useful to you and what you'd love to see in this series, because we're doing it again April 20th. We've got a surprise guest coming to inspire you to be limitless in your journey. And for April, we're adding networking. So you're not just going to have to listen to me, and you're not just going to get to have a great conversation with Dashira or another entrepreneur, but in fact, you're going to get a chance to interact with one another. So I encourage you all, do not miss April's event. It's going to be amazing. Our team's doing a great job really getting all of these put together. So you can actually have some awesome interaction and networking time. And we're going to keep that networking going. So again, make sure we know in the chat if networking is valuable to you. If there's anything specific you want to do the networking topic about, let us know. We're going to try to architect the experience as best we can. And we try to do all of this work based on your feedback. So everything you're feeling, thinking, needing, let our team know. Chat is one place. Of course, you can follow up later as well, but we want to shape that networking in a way that will be most useful to you. But mark your calendars. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. East Coast. I think it will be 6 then British. I think that's correct. We've changed time zones. It's 5 now, but I think we're moving to 6, aren't we? So mark your calendars for a wonderful Limitless series in April, and we will be announcing our guests very shortly. I can't wait to let you know. It's pretty amazing, this entrepreneur who's joining us. And finally, this series, the Limitless series, we need your support. Please, if you found value at all today, or period, if you just were inspired by Dashira and you want to help share the love and spread the love for Dashira, make sure you share our work on social media. This is our community at Sky's the Limit. Together, we're going to build it together. And the more amazing people we can attract to this community, the more power we will have in our numbers and the resources that we can share with one another. So we would love your support in sharing all the content that we're producing here. You will get a link to an on-demand recording so you can watch this again and you can fast forward around and find the pieces of wisdom that Dashira dropped that maybe are the most resonant for you and you want to listen to it again or be motivated and inspired by it again. We'll also have that link available so you can actually reshare that on socials so folks who weren't able to attend live can get in on the recording as well. We're going to follow up with you with some of the tips that I just shared verbally, and we will share our web event registration for April's networking and Limitless Spotlight. So that is coming soon to an email near you and to your message center in the Sky's the Limit platform. If you've got friends who aren't on Sky's the Limit yet, and even if they're really early, make sure you get them in there. Again, this is about building a community, and there's nothing that tells us we're doing a better job than when our fans and friends tell us that they would refer their friends in and encourage them to take advantage of our coaches and our mentors and our resources. So listen, you all, I appreciate you all sticking with us for this entire time. You are an amazing group of people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your amazing interaction in the chat, your wonderful questions. Thank you again to Dashira, and thank you to Dashira's parents for joining us as well. What a wonderful surprise to have such a great supportive network here. You all give me energy. I'm seeing Yari's comments, amazing energy and passion from Shira, and it's so true. We really are so privileged to do this work at Sky's the Limit, and so grateful to do this work with all of you. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know how we can support you better, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. We're so grateful for all of you for joining us. Thanks for being here for our first Limitless event. We will see you next month. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.